Okay, welcome back. Now let me tell you, I had the nastiest headache in a while, and it just stopped. So hopefully it doesn't return until I finish recording this video. So yeah, I had a pretty rough week, and should I say a busy week as well. So uh, yeah, a lot of things are happening. But in any case, time to see how the Stabber 2 will perform. Now, I nicknamed the Stabber 2 the Vagabond because my initial goal was to create a Eve Echoes version of the Vagabonds, and I kind of succeeded in my goal. The Stabber 2, at least this one that I have here, with its current build, is basically a almost identical copy to the Eve Online's Vagabond. Now, of course, it is not the actual Vagabond, since it is missing the fins and the other characteristics that make the ship look pretty. Now, the Stabber 2 is a heavy assault cruiser, and well, not recent updates, but the last big updates, they have buffed all of the heavy assault cruisers. They basically added extra resistance on shield or armor in the case of the Omen. Now, this is, as I mentioned before, a ship that's designed to replicate the Vagabond from EVE Online, and this is basically the build that I have on it. Now, I'm thinking about buying a second Stabber 2, which will be focused a bit more on the DPS side. Basically, I want to have a Stabber 2 that's going to be very similar to the Celos. Although this is my first ever Stabber 2 that I have bought, and this is still the only Stabber 2 that I own. This ship never died. It has some combat experience, but in most cases I have been using the other cruisers, although this ship is ridiculously fun. I had my most fun PvP fight ever was 50 minutes long against a Drake, and I was using this ship against the Drake. It was a fantastic battle. Now, this ship has a sleeper core, and this core was obtained purely by luck. I got the sleeper core and the Revelation sleeper skin at the same time, basically, back then, and I decided to use it on the Stabber 2. Now, the sleeper core, it has been buffed, I believe. It used to have a speed reduction debuff, but that has been changed recently, I believe. In any case, the sleeper core does have some drawbacks, but it is kind of a secondary damage control that you can have on your ship. Now, it does reduce your DPS, but it basically makes your ship's resistance go up by 50% for 30 seconds, which is honestly really awesome, and it really allows me to go and play around with the build on this ship, since I have a lot of ideas that I want to do with a Stabber 2. Now, this is a very tanky Stabber 2, 50,000 hit points, 83, 84, 76, and 80% resistance. When I initially built the ship, I wanted something cheap, didn't want to go with integrations, but I may or may not go with integrations eventually on this thing. Not the expensive ones like on the navies, but something relatively cheap, so that it still has some cost effectiveness, should I say. Now, this is the tank with everything active, 296,000 hit points. This is very nice for a cruiser, I mean really nice. And I believe this can be improved significantly if I do change the build a little bit. Now, these are the stats of the sleeper core, the sleeper modes, or however you wanna call it. It does enhance your capacity to recharge, which does kind of allow you to have your shield or armor recharged or repaired within the duration of the sleeper core mode being active. It has its tactical value, I must say. It does seem to be working better on the shield tanks than on the armor tanks, and I should say that the sleeper mode works really well on the Navy ships. Now, I also had the idea to kind of take advantage of the long range that this ship possesses and do something like the Kite Celos build. Now the Kite Celos, that thing is ridiculous. My Celos right now that I fly, that my PvP Celos, is in most cases with artillery cannons, with long range artillery cannons. That thing just slaps. And I kind of wanted to do something similar with the Starbearer 2. Of course, the two ships are very different. The Starbearer 2 is the fastest cruiser in the game, has a very nice bonus, 25% bonus on velocity, and if you have triple auxiliary thruster installed on this ship, and if you have a dual propulsion build, this thing is going 5.5, 6 km per second easily. If you have a general unit for macro overdrive or afterburners, you can potentially break 7 km per second on this ship with a proper build. So the Starbearer 2 is definitely really fast, and its speed is what makes this thing shine. And this is something that I thought to do on the go. A dual propulsion build Starbearer 2 that does rely on speed to basically avoid damage. And hopefully in the next balance updates, since I've heard that they'll be doing more of those, I really hope that they enhance the passive shield regeneration on all ships, or perhaps enhance the passive shield regeneration on the tier 10 assault cruisers. A build like this on something that's very fast like a Starbearer 2 is going to be really good if it had some proper passive shield recharge. And of course, speaking of passive shield recharge, one thing that I would love to see, and I think the thing that a lot of players would also love to see, are passive shield recharge rigs. And of course the new module, the new shield generator, is going to be really good on this ship with a passive shield recharge rig setup. That would be awesome, and I would definitely be interested into into making my Starbearer 2 the main cruiser for PvP. This thing has potential. I'll say that this thing has potential with just some little changes, with some new additions, some new rigs. This thing can be really good because of its speed. After all, it is a miniature ship and they're known for their speed. Although this isn't exactly a rusty ship anymore, because the Nanocore looks awesome on this thing, but I still really do love this thing for the speed. And the Starbearer 2 is honestly a very unique ship. The other assault cruisers are also very interesting, and they all have basically their own thing that goes for them, which is, I would say, one thing that makes them at least interesting, at least for me. Now, 3.2 km per second is its maximum micro overdrive speed, and this is without any expensive auxiliary thrusters or anything that enhances the speeds quite a bit. Again, this thing can be ridiculously fast. This probably is the fastest cruiser in the game if we ignore the Phantasm. I think this can be faster than Phantasm, because the Phantasm can only use afterburners. This thing can use afterburners and micro overdrives, which makes it a bit more attractive for the speed part, I guess. Now, the tank with this type of setup is not going to be that impressive, although it's not going to be that. It has a large extender, it has a lot of shield. Now my general unit's currently a little bit messed up. I have misplaced them all over the galaxy, so yeah, that's something I have to fix.
Docking
but I can potentially
accepted.
get about 25 to 26,000 in shield passively. So the passive shield tank on this thing is looking really good. And this is of course with this build, which isn't really focused on speed, but you can make it be reliant on speed, and I think speed tank is definitely one of the ways on how to make this ship work. However, In the... I mean, ever since I got this ship, I have been using autocannons as my primary weapon, because the autocannons have a very good range, actually. They can hit up to 25 kilometers easily, so you can orbit outside of the web range and basically kite with the autocannons on the starboard. Kiting is even more easier if you have the long-range artillery cannons, which also is a very interesting choice, although for that build I would really have to change the rigs to make it more suitable for kiting, although with my current build this works really well by default, so I'm not really complaining about that. Now, a large neutralizer build is also something that's been on my mind. A large neutralizer build can be really good against ships that have a tank, basically active tanks, and you would also want to have some capacitor batteries installed, because the large neutralizer will definitely be capacitor heavy, and the rigs may be changed a little bit for capacitor, but not entirely necessary. And you can kind of do a dual neutralizer build. Now technically you can slap dual large neutralizers. I slapped a medium one just as a placeholder because I don't have a second large neutralizer, but you can technically place dual large neutralizers and use a passive shield tank. Basically no active tank is going to work or is going to be capacitor stable with dual large neutralizers, and you can add dual batteries, and instead of the large booster you can add a large extender. The goal with this type of build is to basically stay out of the web scramble range of your targets. You have to be fast in order to make this work, although in my case here my extender can't fit, so definitely have to have really good skills, and the rigs have to be the rigs have to be power grid rigs in order to have something like this working. Or maybe you can use one medium neutralizer and basically just slap a medium extender on top, but the passive kite built with neutralizers is definitely looking to be really nasty against some of the active tanks that can't do any damage to you, that can hit you, or in the case that we receive extra passive shield regeneration stuff, then you would be able to passively tank most of the ships with an afterburn. So honestly, looking good. I mean, this thing can be really interesting. And of course, you also can do the classic active tank with a large booster and a large capacitor battery. This is something that I wish I had against a Raven Striker. I actually yeeted this ship at a Raven Striker and I lived to tell the tale. I mean, this thing is so much fun to fly. It is such a robust ship. It takes so much damage to kill it. It is insane how good this thing is, and I know I can make it even better. At least this ship will be... One stabber will be for tank, this one, and the other stabber will be for DPS. So I have both ships for different scenarios. But again, this thing is ridiculously fun to fly. It is also better than a stabber fleet. It is definitely like a buffed stabber fleet issue, that's for sure. And I really hope that we get a Vagabond. At one point I'll be all over the ship, literally. I'll be all over that thing, because that is one of my favorites of all Eve. Now with this build, the performance, I mean, it's okay. All of the builds honestly kind of feel that they perform in a very similar way. Maybe that's because I'm quite used to flying them, but the overall performance is really solid. Again, I've had lots of combat experience with this thing, not as much as with the Cinnabel and other ships, but I've used it, and I do plan to use it even more, depending on the target. Usually the reason why I rarely fly this ship is because stats, mostly. I can like win most of the battles with this thing, but if you can't hold your targets, then you kind of lost the battle if they escape. So they win if they run away. So one of the things that prevent me from actually using this ship a lot more actively is the fact that it doesn't have a lot of points to hold stuff. With the Celos, it's a bit different because I don't really care about the medium slots on the Celos. That thing just pure glass, pure DPS. It has good tank as well, but that thing spits bullets so fast it's not even funny, and it does kill most ships very quickly. While this ship is a endurance fighter. Basically, it's built to outlast the opponent, and when you outlast the opponent, you basically win. While the Celos is basically built for quick hit and run, and for that thing is just absolutely amazing, and that's why I primarily use it. But I could technically do the same thing with the Stabber. That's not a big deal, and that's what I plan to do in, well, I see of the next videos. Depending on when I finish recording that, there's going to be a lot of things that I want to do. Now, can you do a PvE build with the Stabber? Well, yes, you can. And I always say that heavy assault cruisers, faction cruisers, any type of cruiser basically, can be used for low sec storyline missions because they're fast. They have a very small scan radius. It means that most of the ships that try to scan you down will give you a notification, and most importantly, they are very difficult to catch. They're fast. One mistake, if the hunter doesn't catch you while they land within the first 10 seconds, you are basically warping out. Now, I said that I'll be just to show you this cells. Now again, my general units are messed up. I have basically kind of messed up my equipment, so the total DPS is not going to be the maximum possible DPS, and I have no idea what weapons I have on this thing, so yeah, who knows what I have equipped on this cells, but this is one of the cells ships that I use for combat, and this is usually the build that I have on this thing. Now it goes 2.5 km per second, which is slower than Stabber 2, obviously, but its DPS is just a big nope. This thing just tears everything to shreds. It has like almost the same DPS as my Macarial. It has a lot more DPS if I change my modules a little bit. I have A types for it. I have A type turrets. Yeah, I have C types equipped. I have A types somewhere that I use. I think it's the older cells. I actually have 2 of them, and I messed up the equipment on both of these ships. So,
docking request accepted.
That's kind of funny, but yeah, there's an example of how much DPS these things can do, and it has a battle mode. That special mode makes this thing even more lethal, which has been buffed. So yeah, doesn't really have to have a lot of points because it just kills anything in seconds, and it's a very, very, very fun ship to fly. Now let me quickly pull out the gyrostellars because I will need them since I'll be doing a PvE build for the Stabber 2. Now for high sec, the same idea can be applied for this ship as well. Basically, you can go with full-on glass, and it's not going to be a big issue in high sec. It has a very good tracking speed. It has a very good afterburner speed, very good speed tank, and it's really it is really a very fun ship to pilot. It is a ship that does reward manual piloting a lot. A ship that is really responsive when it comes to orbit. You can make it even more responsive if you go and add some polycarbon rigs on it, but that's again down to personal preference. I personally am very happy with its current speed, and this is the glass build. Of course, not with the right rigs, but the DPS is actually really close to the Cells Cold DPS. The only difference is, again, this has tank rigs, so obviously it's not going to have the same DPS as the Cells, but honestly, it's pretty close. And the most important difference, the ship doesn't have a battle mode. It has dual damage controls though, which is fantastic. Means that, I mean, this is one of the rare occasions where this build full glass is actually going to be really good, because you have one damage control and then you have the second damage control. You can first use the slipper damage control, and then you can use the normal damage control. So this can kind of help a lot against extended battles, in case you mess up and get caught, in case, you know, stuff like that happens. 1,500 DPS though, it is really good. Now that's some solid
Docking
DPS
request
for
accepted.
a tank build. Can be about 50% more, which again is still fantastic. And the idea having a glass stabber 2 for PvP is actually looking to be quite interesting, and it's something that I will definitely explore even more. Now, this would be somewhat of a PvE build. Now, I would love to slap a large Nosferatu and a large booster, but for some I can do that easily if I just change the module meta level a little bit, but for now let's just go with something like this. And this would be a high sec build, would replace the rigs for the burst adapters for extra DPS, but overall something like this should work really well. Now let's quickly take a look at the price of the Stabber 2. Used to be about a billion, 1.5 billion. I bought this ship for 150 million. Now it's about 788 million, 799 million, which is fine. A pretty decent price, I would say. So if you want to fly this ship, then I guess buy until they are on market. And the other heavy assault cruisers are also on market. But it seems like the Stabber 2 is the most expensive. Although I also must say that the Caracal
Warp
pool
drive active.
is also really good. I love that thing as well. Alright, well, let's see how this boat performs in combat. Now the implant will be the barrage implant. I know all of you guys want me to try out the new implant. I will try out. I'm just waiting for the test server to come out of maintenance. Finally they are updating the test server, so it should be up and running in a couple days hopefully, and then I'll be able to show you all the new implants and all the new stuff. But I've heard that the new implant is actually really good for PvE. Now the barrage implant is good, it's very good for PvP, but its PvE application, well, it's not. I mean, I don't want to say that it's bad, but it's definitely not a PvE implant. It can burst down a couple of ships, but then you're faced with the long reload, which is basically the largest downside of the barrage implant. It has a very long reload. And as you can see, this thing does repair. I mean, this thing boosts shield like there's no tomorrow. This is actually some really nice shield recovery that this thing can pull off. And if you combine a very good tank, which this ship usually does have, with this shield recovery, I mean, the recovery is crazy. It covers like 30% shield in one cycle, which can be improved, by the way. This can be improved. This is not the final shield boost performance. If I go with integrations, if I go and do something very similar to what I have now, but if I'm a bit creative with what rigs I use, I can technically get about 15-20% more shield boost with 15-20% less capacitor usage, which is honestly kind of terrifying when you think about it, because this thing would be ridiculously tanky. And the Vagabond in Evoline does have, at least it used to have, last time I checked, it used to have a 7.5% bonus to shield boost amount per cycle. And I kind of replicated that boost bonus with the rigs that this game offers. Of course, can be significantly more, it will be significantly more. I still plan to make the Stabber 2 even scarier and even nastier. So that's definitely one thing that I am personally looking to try out and to do. I mean, when I get an idea for something, usually doesn't take nowadays. It doesn't really take long for me to actually make the idea into an actual build. Although sometimes I don't really end up being happy with the build, and you would be surprised how much time I spend trying everything out until I find something that works. All of that basically is coming from the initial idea, and no, it doesn't have to be a. Sometimes it's a good idea, sometimes it's a bad idea. I mean, I did some really stupid builds that I never really uploaded because they were really bad. I mean, I usually really avoid, and I'm very picky when I'm trying to show a build. Usually I'm very picky with that because I know I have seen so many horrible builds out there. I just don't want my name to be bound to horrible builds. That's just something I don't want. One thing I'm avoiding. My builds are expensive. Yes, some of them are ridiculously expensive. Some of them are overkill. That's true. Some of them are hilarious in a way hilarious that it looks stupid, a little bit stupid, but ends up being really good. And I would rather have a stupid build that's really good than having a stupid build that's stupid. If that makes any sense. I hope that it does, because very soon I plan on uploading a cursed video. Listen, yeah, my headache is returning, so my apologies if I do twist my tongue a little bit here, but I plan to do the how not to build your ship video. I already have ideas for one. I already have some decent, let's say, material that I can include lots of cursed ships. And if you have any silly builds, stupid builds, cursed builds, bad builds that you want me to feature in that video, then feel free to direct message me on Discord and send me the picture of the build. I'll include it in the video. So if you want to do that, you can do, or you can actually, even easier, you can just send me the kill in the game. Basically just look up my name and send me the kill link through the game chat in the direct messages. So that's actually, I would say, the fastest way if you want to have your kill featured on the video, because I think that would be quite funny. I have some very funny ideas coming up that I believe would be very funny to do. Now, back to the stabber here. I'm actually very happy with the alpha damage. Now this thing does hit really well at long distances. I mean, one of the things that made this thing work like a Vagabond with all cannons is the fact that it has range. The all cannons have range. They really do have very nice range. You can orbit outside of the web and scam range of most ships.
We're under attack.
You can maintain a stable orbit at 17-15 kilometers and you'll be applying most of damage. It has very nice accuracy and very good tracking. So that's a very rewarding thing about this ship. Makes its performance again really stand out. And if we ever get ammo, which can actually happen based on from what I'm seeing here, if we ever get ammo, this thing is going to be very good at kiting with all cans. It can kite with all cans even now, but with ammo it would definitely be a bit better, I would say. I absolutely love the shield boost performance on this ship. It's just amazing. One little click on the booster and all damage is basically gone from the shield. This is a very ridiculous ship. Now, this is also something that crossed my mind. having a large Nosferatu, large booster, and a capacitor battery, a medium one. That's actually even a much better idea for endurance battle. For a endurance battle, that's a even better idea, because then if my enemy runs out of capacitor, I still have like a capacitor battery running, so I can keep the booster running. And we'll have to sacrifice a bit of tank, that's true. That's the sad part, is I have to sacrifice tank. I really don't want to sacrifice any tank that this thing has. But you know, sometimes you just can't have everything, so you have to make sacrifices somewhere, and in this case the sacrifice would definitely be one less adaptive HUD. Or maybe the damage roll, although the damage roll is very useful because the ship has a activation time bonus on the damage roll. So might very well be using it, although you can also have a general unit on the damage roll that can enhance the tank. So you can actually add the general unit on the damage control that increases the passive resistance by about 2%, I believe, but in some cases up to 3%, and that can technically cover for the missing adaptive hardware. So that's one of the solutions, and that's a fantastic idea actually. Might even do it after I finish recording the video. Having a capacitor battery, a large instructor, large booster, and the general unit on the damage control to enhance the tank even more. Yeah, that should technically replace one adaptive harder, and would allow me to not sacrifice any extra tank, but it will actually make me more capacitor stable. Hey, perfect idea. That came to my mind. I'll definitely do it afterwards. That's going to be silly. Again, would be working really well against more ships, but this type of idea struggles against ships with stabs. Basically, the Stabber 2 has the same problem the Ashmo has. The Ashmo used to be a very feared PvP ship. I used to fight the Ashmo in the old days. I loved that thing. I loved it until the very end, until I sold it. I really wish that things were different. If things were different, if stabs haven't been... Although I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about the stabs, because I know the number of stabs nowadays has drastically dropped off, but my luck doesn't really allow me to fly ships with 1 point only, because I usually stumble upon ships with stabs. But I have to say, the number of stabs throughout the last 2 years, or throughout last year actually, throughout this year, has drastically reduced, and more players are starting to rely more on the skill part than on the stab part. Skilled players, at least from what I've seen, rely less on stabs but more on piloting skills. So I'm happy to see stabs slowly, being pushed away, because in a lot of cases stabs, I mean they still do help at 1v1s, that's for sure. That's the reason why I don't fight the Ashmo anymore, because the Ashmo can't really hold anything nowadays. And if you sacrifice webs or Nosferatus or even neutralizers, then you should be flying a different ship, not the Ashmo, because the Ashmo is all about the webs. Nosferatus, it's all about the E-war, all about the electronic warfare. So if I do have triple scanners on the Ashmo, that's not an Ashmo. For that purpose I can use any cruiser basically. The Ortus, for example, that has the same medium layout. So that's the thing. There are some ships that unfortunately suffer because of the current stab stuff, although maybe things will be changed. I mean, some pretty good changes recently, honestly. The last couple of updates haven't been that bad. They've actually been pretty good if you look at things from a different perspective. The last couple of updates haven't been well, that they have been much better than they used to be. I mean, when I look back at 2021, 2022, the last couple updates that we had now were really good, and I'm hoping to see a lot more interesting stuff introduced to the game in the next update. There is still this whole topic about the voyage stuff. I always forget what the full name of it, voyage plan or something. Hopefully that doesn't really. I mean, from what I've seen so far, it doesn't seem that that's going to make its way to the game. So that's good, I guess. But at the same time, kind of bad because no new stuff. Although I say no new stuff. What am I talking about? The Kilvala expanse is coming up. I almost forgot that. That's going to be very interesting little region to explore. And this ship might be a very good ship for the Kilvala expanse because it's tanky and can be. Actually, you know what? I think I'll have a very busy day when that update arrives, because if it's like abyssal space, then I'll have to develop builds for it. So that's going to be fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. But with that being said, Stabber 2, amazing ship. If you want to fly it, if you want to try it out, you can try it out. It's a fantastic ship, honestly. Very fun to fly. And I mean, I love it. There's nothing to hate about this ship. It is awesome. So if you guys would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.